Alright, so basically I'm going to try to make a video on how to make teff for everybody because all the other videos on YouTube aren't very good. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, if anybody out there knows how to do it better, just tell me in the comments and I'll make a new video if there's a better way to do this. But apparently this is how you do it, or this is the best way. I've done it a couple different ways, and I think this is the best way. Well, the first thing you got to do is soak it in a bowl of water overnight for 12 to 24 hours, something along those lines. I don't really know why this is, but there is a reason to do this apparently. Some people skip it. I would say to do it because generally with grains, you want to be doing the things like soaking them before using them. Same thing goes with beans. Like a lot of beans, you want to soak them before you eat them. I don't know a whole lot of the details, but all the various cultures around the world have the right way to do things based on time-tested practices, and I'm pretty sure soaking teff in water is one of them. So after this, we're going to get to making it. Alright, so this is the second part to making teff. That's a little hard. After you've let your teff sit in a bowl of water, soaking in water overnight, you gotta strain it, and that makes it really hard because it's a really fine grain. So you gotta get one of these things. I don't know what it's called. I'll figure it out before I post the video and show you what it's called. But it's like it's a thing for tea. So you gotta pour your teff into here, and catch it in here, and then get rid of the water that way. So it kind of just goes like this. I kind of just mess around for a little bit, pour all the water in here, get as much of the teff as I can into here, and then pour it back into the bowl, getting as much water as you can get out of it. So like, do it again, get the rest of the water that stays in the bowl. So I just tap it back in here because this thing is a really fine seed. Like, it's crazy how fine it is. But then with the rest of it, take it over to the sink. See, there's a little water in here. I had to get rid of the rest of it. There's enough teff in here where I could just pour the rest of it in the strainer, so I won't waste any. So go pour it over here in the sink. The water strains through, as you see, and the rest of the teff stays in the bowl. So there you got all your teff in 2 bowls. It's after it's sat out overnight, soaking in the water. So it's basically ready to cook now, actually. But here's the kind of a little hard part, is getting it into your pan. Oh shoot, I messed up. The pan I'm supposed to use, I'm using as a prop to prop up my camera. So I'm gonna do it a little in this pan. I don't want to use this, but I'm gonna. So I use a little silicone spoon that I can scrape up all of it that I can into the pan. Because like I said, this is a really fine seed. Like, this thing is crazy fine. You'll never see anything. It's almost as fine as a grain of sand. Not quite, but it's close. Like, it's honestly wild. Alright, so I got that right there, most of it. It's always going to be a little bit messy when you're trying to cook teff, because until it's cooked, it's kind of hard to handle. So basically, you're going to want to get a spoon like this, like a silicone spoon that's got kind of rough edges where you can kind of dig into it and conform it to like the shape of the bowl, because otherwise you're going to miss a ton of the teff and you're going to waste a ton of it, and it's going to get everywhere. So this is like the only hard part. Once you cook teff, it's not really dirty to deal with that much anyways. It's always going to be impossible to get rid of all of it. But okay, so I got it in the pan now, and I gotta pause this. Okay, so with teff, I'm not sure if I'm exactly right on this, but what I do is I use a half cup of teff, which is what's in here, a half cup of teff, and then I use 2/3 of a cup of water poured into that to make it. So all you do after you get the 2/3 cup of water, so you get your 2/3 cup of water here. If you're making a full cup, you get a little bit, or you get double the 2/3 cup of water, so you get 2 cups of 2/3 water. So pour 2/3 cup of water in there, and then all you do is bring it to a boil. And after you've brought it to a boil, you let it cook for about 10. It depends where you are in terms of elevation, but I let it cook for about 11, 12 minutes at not the lowest simmer, a little bit higher than the lowest simmer after you've got it to a boil. And then that's all you do. That's basically how you make teff. So, like I said, 12 minutes for me is what I find that I like for 12 minutes on a little higher than the lowest simmer for a boil after you've brought it to a boil. Other people on YouTube have different ways of making this. Nobody else on YouTube makes it like this. I took this method from one guy and kind of changed it a little bit, but this seems to work the best for me. Nobody else has a good video on how to make teff on YouTube, so I'm gonna be the only one, I guess. Um, yeah, try it for yourself. I like it. I mix it with quinoa and rice, and that's how I eat it. But I want to buy sorghum. So what I want to do is I'm gonna mix. I don't know how sorghum tastes yet, so I don't know. But I want to mix sorghum with teff and eat that, and then I want to mix quinoa with rice and eat that. Like switch each day, do a different one type of thing, or eat one for 4 days and then switch to the other for 4 days. So like I got like 50 pounds of rice, 50 pounds of teff, and 50 pounds of quinoa type of thing, and I'm probably gonna get 50 pounds of sorghum. So like I'm doing this stuff all the time. Yeah, like I said, this will be basically the only video that really shows you how to make teff on YouTube. I'm gonna record it boiling, but there's really no point to it. I mean, once you get it to a boil and you watch it cook, there's nothing left to it. I only made this cause just to show you how to deal with the how small the seed is, and then also how to soak it. But then nobody else shows the best way to make it. I think this is the best way to make it. One woman has one where you cook it in the oven. I don't like that way. Another guy has it kind of similar to this, but it doesn't work that good. So like I said, once you get it, um, once you get it soaked overnight, get it in the pan like that. Add 2/3 of water to a half cup of teff, and you're good to go as soon as you got it up to a boil. All you got to do after that is figure out how long it takes to get it to the right consistency and doneness of it that you like. If you've never had teff, you should try it. Get a small bag and try it. Eat it a whole bunch of times, though, before you make a judgment on its taste. Because you got to eat it about like 10, 12, 15 times before you make a true judgment on its taste. You can say that about any food in the world, though. So enjoy. That's mostly my video on teff. All right, just to give you a visual, here it is on the stove. You're supposed to you do it with the lid on, of course, but I took it off for the video. So, oh, the only thing I say is you want to add some salt to it before you do it. So sprinkle some salt on there, and don't use cheap table salt. Use real salt. Like, look up Redmond's real salt or pink Himalayan salt. Use real salt when you eat. Salt is not bad for you. I'll put a link in the comments on how good salt is for you. So salt your food to taste. But just like I said, giving you a visual. It takes about 3 minutes to get it to a boil. So after 3 minutes of this, you turn the heat down. This is what it looks like when I turn the heat down. I put it at about, that's about the lowest simmer you can get right there. I put it just a touch up. This is easy with a gas stove. It's hard with an electric stove. So if you got an electric stove, you're at a little bit of a handicap here. But you could let it simmer on about that if you got a gas stove. Once you got it to a boil. So once it simmers on that, once after it's boiling, simmer it like that for about 11 minutes or so. Some people say 9. I found 12, but it depends where you live and your elevation in the world and whatnot. So just to give you a visual, I'm gonna put it back up. It's still not ready. See, I got a timer set for 3 minutes, so I'm gonna have to reset that. But so it's gonna be at a boil pretty soon, and then as soon as it's at a boil, turn it down. Let it sit for about 11 minutes or so, and you're good. So, started boiling, so I'm going to turn it down. That's all you do. Turn the heat down as soon as it started boiling. Turn the heat down to about, that right there is probably good for it. So, just turn it down to pretty low heat, but not as low as you can go. I'll show it to you in about 11 minutes from now. All right, so it's done now, and this is more or less what it looks like when it's done. I can't tell if it's getting a good picture here. So there's usually like a little layer of water on top. You see that there? Like you just leave that in there, but after it's done, you let it steam off with the no heat on down on the bottom. So no heat on. You just let it steam in there for 10 minutes. So let it sit for 10 minutes before you take it out, and then that little water there kind of makes it look like it's not done, but it's done. So after you let it steam, you just take a spoon in there and stir it up, and the water will mix in with that, and it'll be good to go. So that's basically all you do. I'll see. I think that's the end of the video there. Alright, so here's the finished product. I keep it in a little thing like that, but the thing about teff, when you're done with it, it kind of gets stringy like this, so when you want to use it, you gotta figure out a way to like smush it kind of. So I usually just press it down with a fork, and then it becomes a lot easier to eat that way. So like, here it's in the bowl. I'll be able to mix it up with the rice and the quinoa a bit easier. But here's what I do with my mix of quinoa, rice, and teff. So I cook all my meat, or I cook all my meals with sous vide meat as the base. So I cook sous vide in a bag like this, closed and sealed, air taken out. So after you're done, you get a bunch of these juices in here from the meat. So I take the juices from the meat and pour it on the teff, quinoa, and rice mix. And it's excellent that way. And after that, I take a little bit of black pepper, get it in there, a little extra real red mint salt there, about a quarter teaspoon, and then I get some, I forget what, this is garlic, but I forget what it's called. I think like dehydrated garlic or whatever, garlic powder kind of, but it's a little bit fresher and more organic than the crap they sell in stores. And then this is just some Japanese seasoning. So I just throw that all in there. And then I mix it up all in the juices of the fat. And now the other thing I mix this with is I take either tallow, so beef tallow, or pork lard. Only the good kind though, so that means like the farm fresh kind where it's actually hand rendered from a farm and it's from pastured animals. You don't want to get cheap lard from the store because there's a bunch of crap that they put in there, plus it's poor quality fat to begin with. So go on Etsy, maybe get some beef tallow or beef lard, like 5 pounds of it. And you can take about a tablespoon of that and throw it in here and mix it up. Maybe a tablespoon and a half of tallow or beef lard, but that's what I do when I don't have sous vide meat. So usually I'll eat raw organ meats on the days I don't have sous vide meat. So the days I don't have meat juice from sous vide, to pour in my bowl, I throw in beef tallow or pork lard. And that works great. So I guess that's what I do with that's what I do with teff. I combine it with quinoa and rice. Like I said earlier in the video, I'm planning on adding sorghum into this, so pretty soon hopefully it's going to be sorghum and teff, and then I'll eat rice and quinoa separately. But yeah, that's how I go about that. And we have a look at the final product there. A little bit of meat added in there, some meat juice added into the carbohydrate rich foodstuffs known as teff, quinoa, and rice. So yeah, that's it.